Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today we're back on the Decca RG-150 restoration. And what I thought we'd do today, while we're waiting for the capacitors that I've ordered to arrive, is have a look at these control knobs that we need to repair, and I'll show you a technique that I use to give some more life to these plastic control knobs, because the plastic on these, it's over 50 years old and it is starting to deteriorate. So we'll flip them over and I'll show you some of the issues that they've got. Now, this one that's broken away and it's basically fractured is the one off the wave change switch, which is the switch here on the radio. It's the one that takes the most force of any of them. Excuse me, really. And like I said, the whole of that is broken away. We'll leave the main repair of that one to last. First, we'll have a look at these knobs. Now these, most of them actually, that one's in fairly good condition. They've just started to crack there on all three of them, but it's only a tiny little crack up to now. So the first thing we'll do is we'll just take a little bit of super glue. I'll keep all my adhesives and stuff in the bag like that, so at least if one leaks, I only damage these, I don't damage anything else, so I zip that up in a box, in a drawer, and it keeps all my adhesives and solvents and things together. That's why I keep them all in one bag like that. So we've just got some cheap super glue here, and we don't want to use the applicator, the little dropper that it comes with. That's too severe. You get far too much stuff coming out using that, especially for what we want to do here. What we want is just a cocktail stick. And if we get a bit of the super glue just on a cocktail stick like that, you don't want too much, and all we're doing is if we just touch it onto that crack, just put a little bit more on here, just touch it on the top of the yeah, I've got my finger stuck to the top of that now, there we go. So you don't want too much on. Just touch it on the top of the crack there, and what happens is it wicks down into the crack and it'll just stop it spreading anymore. There we go. So you only want a tiny little touch. You don't want to, that's why you want to do it with a cocktail stick and not just use the applicator on the super glue. We'll put that away for a second, and we're going to turn our attention to the for now. We'll come back to them in a short while. Let's put that down there. You can see I've just got a plastic binder cover on my mat here. I keep these together just for doing things like this because they're great. You can put them down, you just chuck it away when you've finished and you're not going to risk damaging your mat. And most glues don't stick to it too well actually, so like things like that, it'll dry off and you can be able to just pick it up and pull it back off. So like I said, we'll leave them three to one side for now, and we'll turn our attention to this this mess here, and I'll show you how we're going to repair this. Now what I've done is I took a knob, something like this. It wasn't exactly identical to this, but it was basically a Bakelite knob like that was no good. It was had a big chunk chipped out of it, and I cracked it up and I extracted the brass set out of it, and I've got that here. You can see I've got the brass set. Now I will say it was a little bit on the tall side because it was a much bigger control knob than we fit in here. So all I did is I got it in some pliers and put it on my bench grinder and just ground it down to about the size that we want. You can see it's got a proper threaded hole in it, and this is actually the grub screw off the original control knob. Unfortunately, if we look, it's the perfect fit for that. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to install this in there, and the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to clean off at the bottom there any of the rough old plastic, and we're going to need to take a bit of this away because we need to make enough room that can sit in there and it can sit centrally. So that's what we're going to do first, and to do that, let's just move these. I'm just going to move these out of the way because I don't want to get dust on them at this point. We're just going to use one of these. Now what this is it's like one of the really cheap, and I do mean really cheap, it was like 15 quid or something. I do have a better one, I do have like a Dremel one, but actually for doing intricate stuff like this, because it's so light and easy to hold, this is actually far better if you want to do stuff that's really fine. And all I've got a little burr attachment in the end, as you can see there, and we're just going to use this to grind away the plastic that we don't want in that control there. So we just switch this on. It might be a little bit noisy. We don't want it too fast, just a reasonable speed. And then it really is just a case of going in here and grinding away as much of the plastic as you need to. Put a bit more speed on that. I have to grind this piece here away as well, because that's in the way. Even though it's well attached, it's in the way of the new set going in, so just very gentle, we'll just grind that away. You do need a reasonably well ventilated area to do this as well, because it does absolutely stink, this old plastic, when you start grinding into it. Sometimes you will have to stop every now and again because your bit will get all gumped up like that. What you can do is take a pair of snips, and if you just gently just go across it, you should just be able to break that off like that, and then you're good to go again. Stop again. You don't want to get it too, you don't actually want to get it too hot, because this plastic does start to melt. So you do have to keep stopping and just let it cool off. Like I say, you don't really want it melting, you just want to grind away the plastic that you don't want. Like that. There we go. Let's stop and clean that off. But as you can see, we've got most of that gone now. There we go. Let's get rid of that. Shouldn't take much more grinding to get rid of what's left here. Okay. We can just go in with the snips and just see if there's any of these little bits we can. You have to be careful doing this, because obviously you don't want to stress the already weakened control knob, because it is quite weak at this point. But we can just use a little bit of that just to clear off some of the high spots that we've left. We can just go in there and give that a little snip out. So just be careful doing that. We'll need to take a little bit of that out as well there. There we go. Hopefully that's giving us enough room to put the set in. Let's just keep cleaning it off as well. Nice clean and tidy area to work in. And we just set that in position. We can see where that's going to fit now. You can see. That looks like it's going to fit quite nicely. Is it better that way up? It's actually, yeah. Nope, I had it better. I had it right the first time. That way up like that. Yeah, and that's going to fit nicely in there. But what we do need to do is we need to make sure it's centered. Otherwise, when you've got it in the knob's not going to turn. It's not going to turn right. It's going to bobble up and down. So we need to make sure that that is going to be perfectly centered. I found the easiest way of doing that is just to take an old pot, or if you had it, just the cut-off shaft of an old pot. I'll see what I've got in my box here. Oh, that should do quite nicely. And it's plastic, it doesn't really matter. All we want is the central shaft, because we're going to use it just to centre this control. Just push this on here. Just got to ream this out a little bit, because when I ground it down, obviously it's left a few burrs on the inside, and it's meaning that it's not fitting quite perfectly. So we just deburr it like that. Do this other side for completeness as well, like that. That should fit in there now, which it does. So we'll put that in. We're going to use that, like I said, just to centre the new part. And the first thing we want to do is just make sure that will fit in and centre up okay. I'll put that on the shaft the wrong way round. That's it, that's right now. Let's just slide that in position. Make sure we're happy where it's going to go. And it's going to fit right about there, like that. So what we want to do is we just want to mark its position. Let's find a marker pen. Excuse arms. Right, I've got a marker pen. And the reason we can do that, if you look in the bottom there's a little bit of a divot right at the bottom where the shaft would touch, and all we're basically doing is we're getting that bit there just to sit into that divot there, and that basically lines us up with the centre of the shaft, with the centre of the control knob. So we just put that in like that, get that to line up on its little divot like it is. You can just go in with a marker pen and just mark round exactly where that is going to go, like that. We can take that out. We can make sure that that is going to fit in there now. In fact, best thing to do is we'll just screw the grub screw in a bit, because it'll make it easier for us to be able to get this in and out of the hole while we get it all lined up, and we can glue it down into position. So we know that that is going to fit exactly where it is there. That's perfect like that. So what we've got this is 4-minute quick set epoxy. And we're going to mix a little bit of this up, and this is what we're going to use just to initially fold that and fix that into position. We will then go across with something else in a very short space of time, but for now, just to get this actually loaded into position, this is exactly what we're going to use. So we'll just get a little bit of this out. This stuff really does stink. It absolutely reeks, this stuff. But it is good stuff, I must admit. Just equal portions, like that, together. we get our stick and give that a good mix up. That should be about right. Doesn't take very long to mix this stuff up, but you do need to give it a really good thorough mix. So there, we're happy with that. We want to get some of this on the end of the cocktail stick. We just turn this over to where we're going to apply a little bit onto the bottom there. Try not to get any on the thread of the screw, or else you really are going to have problems very shortly if you do that. Because you will want to be able to take that screw in and out, and then get that lined up where it has to go in the centre of the control knob. Slightly out to there. That's it, that's in the perfect position. And then all we want to do is take a little bit more of this and just put a little bit. And the nice thing with this set is it's got these gnarls around it where it was originally moulded into the original knob that I took this from, and that will help strengthen this and stop it actually spinning round and breaking free in the future. It tends to be the older the control knob you get hold of to do this with, the better it is for that, the more chance it is of having them gnarls on it. Some of the newer ones I've tried this with don't have that. They just seem to be just a plain brass insert pushed into the plastic. They don't seem to be anywhere near as good as these really old vintage ones. Not that you want to be breaking up good vintage knobs. Like I said, this is one that was already chipped and cracked, and if you go to swap meets and stuff, you'll find boxes full of old control knobs. And if you find a few which are a bit cracked and broken and nasty, you can usually pick them up for literally a few pence each. And they're worth grabbing just for that little brass insert inside, so you can do repairs like this with them. I'm going to leave that just while that epoxy sets off now. So join me back literally in a minute or two when that's gone off, and I will be right back. Okay, and we're back. And it's been about 10 minutes. I know that stuff, it says it sets in 4 minutes, but I think 10 minutes is really a more realistic option. I mean, it's not particularly cold in the workshop up here at the moment, and after 4 minutes I wouldn't say I would have been confident handling it. Like I said, it's 10 minutes later now, and that's it's set well enough for us to do the next part of the process. And that basically is going to be done to all 4 of these control knobs. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this stuff. Now, this basically is 2-part car body filler. It comes as as one tube, and then you have a hardener, just like epoxy. It is a form of epoxy, I believe. But this is what we're going to use to make these things last another 50 years. And basically what we're going to do is we won't make a load up. We'll just make a small quantity up. And what we're going to do then is fill these voids in here with the filler. That'll stabilise that. I'll make sure that doesn't come out, and on these ones it will help prevent from this from fracturing in the future, because like I said, it'll just add some rigidity to here, so when that screw is pushed in, it's got a little bit more meat holding it together before it puts any stress on that little bit there. So without further ado, let's squeeze some of this out. Now, this stuff is meant to be mixed as a ratio of a golf ball to a pea. Now, we don't need a golf ball's worth. We need like a large dob of marbles. Oops. I know Andy on Vintage Radio Repair would definitely make a comment with that. Over to you on that one, mate. Oh. Disgusting. But anyway, that is the we'll mix some of its oil back into it. I think that's been sat in the tube for quite some time. I use this stuff fairly often, so I don't think it'll have gone out out of use or anything. I think it's just got a bit warm. It's the oil separated out of it, but we'll give it a mix up before we start. There we go. Well, the reason I like using this as well is it's a nice neutral colour for doing these cream knobs. Not that you're going to ever see it anyway, because like I said, it is in the back. I hope this isn't the pink one. I think this is the clear coloured one. In fact, the top, I think the top's got blocks in this. Hang on. Yeah, there we go. And we want a tiny little bit of the catalyst, which is what we've got in here. This probably will turn. Oh yeah, it is unfortunately. It's the red one I've got here. I did have one of these catalysts and it was white, so it didn't tint the filler at all. But this one's yeah, come on, get out of there. It's got blocked, I think. There it is. A tiny little, oops, that's probably too much, but never mind. Tiny little bit of that. And we just mix them two together. You do need to mix it nice and well, like that. That's what we want, right, like that there. And then all we need to do is start spooning it into the insides of the control knob. Try not to get any, it doesn't matter if you get any on the back because we can clean that off, but try not to get any really on the sides or on the front of the knob. You don't want to really get any too close to where the set screw's thread is there, if you can help it, because it will hinder the it won't stop the grub screw coming in and out, but it will make life a little bit more difficult for you. So don't worry if you've got a few little high spots, because we can easily address that after. Once this stuff's set, it sands very easily, so we can sand any little high spots off. And that's basically what you're aiming for. So I will go ahead and I will do these, and I will be back to show you as soon as we've got these dried off. Okay, and we're back, and it's been about 30 minutes. As you can see, I've now filled all these. These have all now been filled up. As you can see, I did just leave a little bit round there where the grub screw is on that one, obviously, because we don't want it binding up. But this is all gone off now. This is nice and solid. What we have had happen, as I was handling them, basically one of the brights has come off. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to address that. Oh, excuse me. So we'll just mix a tiny little bit of the epoxy up here. So we only literally need a tiny little bit of this. That's probably way too much, but it's a bit tricky mixing anything much smaller than that. We'll just mix a tiny little bit of that up. And this is a little bit better than super glue for sticking these little top hats back onto knobs. You have to be a bit careful with super glue, especially when it's going onto metal. It's not the best thing really for gluing things from metal onto plastic. It will hold, but it's quite brittle and it will tend to come off again, as this is actually far better. So we just put a little bit of that epoxy in there. Let's put a little bit more. Try and keep it into the middle of the thing. Don't get it too far onto the edges and around the edges there. There we go. and that should be enough just to stick the little top hat back on there like that. We'll leave that one side just while that goes off. Let's just clear off the working area for a minute. Another reason why I really like using these old plastic binders for stuff like this is when you've done something like that and you want to carry on, you want a clean area, all you have to do is fold it over like that. That's sealed all the nasty stuff inside, and you can use it again. So we can use that again here. And what we're going to do is, if you look, we've still got a bit of the crud on the back of there, so just get a piece of, this is a sanding disc off one of my electric sanders. It's like a medium grit. It's not too coarse, it's not too fine. And all we want to do is we just put the knob flat on the back like that and just give it a little, just like that. Just give it a quick wipe off, and that just gets any of the excess just off the edge there. So that is now ready to go back onto the radio. Okay, we'll just give them all just a really gentle little rub. Sometimes you have to give them like that. And literally we're just taking any, we're just flicking the knob at us, but we're just taking any little high spots of the filler that may have stuck up when we did it off. Make sure they're nice and flat, so we don't want it scratching the glass, or at least the plastic in this case on the Decca as they go around. We don't want it marking that. I mean, they should be off from the glass by a millimetre, so just rubbing them on some sandpaper like that, just make sure they're nice and flat. We'll do the last one. There we go. Let's just get that away from now. Ooh. Just put that out of harm's way. Give the bench a bit clean over, and obviously they're going to need a final clean and polish. Have to be a bit careful with that one. That's the one that we've just re-glued. I've got a little, in fact, I'll just get a little bit of isopropyl and just see if we can just clean that off. Looks like I've just got a tiny little bit of the epoxy on the front. It's not set yet, so if we just give it a quick wipe round. In fact, this might be an idea to give them all a quick scrub like this while we've got them off. Let's see if we can get a bit of there we go. I've got a bit of kitchen paper here. Just give that a, there we go. Now they do have a bit of wear on the actual brass on these, but as you can see, that's come up quite nicely. That is nice and rock solid. Yeah, while we're here, we'll just give them, with this bit of isopropyl on this cotton bud, we'll just give them a really gentle little clean on top. So we don't want to go mad. But they do look like they have got a bit of muck and rubbish on there that we can help remove with that. There we go. So you don't want to rub too much, because it is a brass plate in this, and that on the outside, if you can see around there, that's not muck and dirt, that's actually where the brass plating over the years has worn through. So you don't want to try and keep scrubbing at that, because you will just make it worse. It's just a case of getting any of the really nasty muck and rubbish off them. The other advantage of doing this is if if the knob bright's going to come loose at any time, it's going to come loose while you're doing this, at which point you can easily just get a bit of epoxy on there and glue it back on. Otherwise it's liable to drop off while you're transporting the radiogram back to its owner, and it doesn't look good when you arrive at the house, open it up, and one of the knob brights drops off. So another reason why it's always handy to give them a clean when they're on the bench like this. Like I said, it eliminates that they get to fall off on the bench when where you can easily stick them back on. Okay, yep, that one is dirty. Let's give that a quick polish. There we go, that's come up quite nice and clean. And that one, like I said, that's the worst of them. That's the one that was all broken out at the back. And as you can see now, that really is quite a good repair. In fact, we'll show how good a repair it is. We've got the chassis here. So let's switch it off actually, because I've been listening to it. I've had that playing while I've been working. So let's just bring you up to here. Now this is the one, like we said, this was the wave change switch where it had actually broken out. So we're actually going to fit this to the wave change knob. Let's get that on there, like that. Tighten that down. There we are, and if we can see now, that turns as it should. We may as well just stick the other ones on, because it does make it easier when you're actually servicing this thing to have the control knobs on. Because it means it's easier to actually operate the controls. It's always a bit of a pain just to grip the shafts. So while we're here, let's just stick the repaired knobs back on the radio chassis. Like I said, it will aid us in the next part when we start servicing the chassis. So it means we can actually get hold of these and turn them rather than fannying about trying to turn the control shafts there. And turn that up so I can get to it. And the last one. Just tighten that one on. And there we are. Oops, I don't think you saw any of that. Sorry about that. I've got to reposition the camera. So anyway, there we go. That's all the control knobs, as you can see, are now repaired. That's the one that was broken. And that is absolutely A1 condition now, if you look. That's the gram, medium wave, long wave. So that works fine. All these will now last many more years to come. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope you enjoyed that little video showing what I do with a broken control knob to fix it. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.